Hey, welcome to Two Doctors Homestead. My name's Daniel, and this is going to be Prepper Pantry Pick of the Week. This week we're doing a little bit of a recap episode. I wanted to go back through a few of the items we've done recently and throw them all into one video. We got a lot of new people in the channel, and every once in a while we'll kind of take a step back, do a bit of a recap episode where we go through multiple items, right? So right now we're going to just jump into a list of a few different items that we've already got in the pantry and just kind of talk about what you get in the box and why it may or may not be a great choice for your long-term food storage pantry or just your food pantry in general. You know, some of the things we look at might be short-term food storage, long-term, mid-term. It really depends on the item. So the first thing we're going to look at is cream of wheat. You know, when I got this a couple weeks ago, it was $4.52 for the box. I mentioned that the price had been going up, but in all honesty, it's still $4.52 for the box of cream of wheat. So it is held stable. Wheat does seem to be a questionable item right now in terms of imports and exports, but to their credit, it's still $4.52 for the box. So if you bought the box of cream of wheat, you get 24 servings per container, 120 calories per serving for a total of 2,880 calories in the box, right? And that works out to about 16.1 cents per ounce. Right, so that's 0.1 cents per calorie. If you wanted to live on cream of wheat, 1,500 calorie diet would cost you $2.35 for one day. A 2,000 calorie diet would cost you $3.13, which is kind of on the expensive end if you compare it to something like rice, which is only going to cost you maybe 50 cents for a 2,000 calorie day, depending on how much you pay for the rice, right? When you get the big bags in our area, you can get it for about 50 cents worth for 2,000 calories. I'm saying this is $3.13. Now, it used to be a lot less expensive. I know growing up with cream of wheat, it was always one of my favorites, and it's something I do enjoy now, but I was a little surprised by the price. I said I just don't remember it being $4.52 for the box. You do get 100 milligrams of sodium per serving, 25 grams of carbs, 3 grams of protein. It is an enriched wheat, so you get 8 essential vitamins and minerals. It's an excellent source of calcium and iron, and it's fat-free, cholesterol-free, and low in sodium. So there's a lot of great stuff in the cream of wheat in the serving: vitamin D, B, calcium, iron, potassium, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and folate. So it does have a 2-year shelf life in the box. So in that sense, it is a good fit for your midterm food storage, right? Not necessarily long-term. For me, long-term is going to be more the 10 to 20 year range, and we'll jump into one of those items. But midterm, as it is, you get 2 years in the box. If it's properly stored, think Mylar bags, oxygen absorbers, that kind of thing, you're looking maybe 8 to 12 years that it could last, right? And it does contain wheat, so it is certainly not gluten-free. When we're talking about long-term food storage, right, when you're going past the best by date on the box, that's not necessarily the expiration date, but you're going beyond the manufacturer's recommendation for quality, so you have to use your best judgment. We say that every time, right? And even within the best by date, if it's not stored properly, if it gets bugs in it, if it gets wet, if it gets too hot, your food can lose quality. It can become inedible, right? And even unhealthy, right? You could become bad for you if molds or something like that grow in there. So you always have to use your best judgment on any food item, right? Look at it. Does it look right? Does it smell right? Is it the correct consistency? Things like that. Is there mold growing in it, right? Now, especially if I'm saying 8 to 12 years, you put it in your Mylar bag, you open up that Mylar bag, you don't want to just close your eyes and take a bite. You have to use your best judgment, but it is something that can push out, and maybe in that sense it could be more long-term, depending on how you define your long-term food storage, 10 plus years, 12 plus years if stored properly. So it is nutritious, I believe. Once again, that depends on how you feel about wheat. You might be allergic to gluten, you might not be interested in wheat. I would not necessarily call it low cost anymore at $3.13 to get you a single 2,000 calorie day. It used to be, right? It used to be, and that really depends on your budget and where you're coming from in terms of what you're willing to pay. If you're going for things like freeze-dried, which we'll hit one of those today, certainly way more expensive than that, right? So it's a lot more reasonable than a lot of items, but if you're looking at more like basic ingredients, rice, beans, flour, it's way more expensive than that. So you could put it somewhere in the middle, right? Mid-range of cost. I believe it's healthy, but I know a lot of people don't like wheat, and that's okay too, right? You have to do you. You have to work with what works for you. So, first item on the recap: cream of wheat. Next item I'm gonna grab. I'm going for the roast beef. So, we did a video with 3 different canned meats: roast beef, chicken, and pork, and really talked about the differences based on cost per calorie as well as cost per gram of protein, and I think they're both important numbers to look at. And we're also working on a comparison between buying canned and canning your own, and I think you'll find that there's not a lot in these cans, at least that's my opinion, certainly for the cost, right? If you're looking for building out your own food pantry, you're better off buying, I believe, the ingredients and canning it yourself. And certainly if you can raise your own animals, that's even better. But we'll jump into the can of roast beef here. $3.74 for the can, 3.5 servings per container, 110 calories per serving, 385 calories total for the container, and it works out to about 1 penny per calorie and 5 cents per gram of protein, right? And I think I gave the cost, yeah, so it was 0.1 cents per calorie for cream of wheat. We're saying this is 1 cent per calorie, so 10 times the cost per calorie for cream of wheat. So you get 2.5 grams of fat per serving, 55 milligrams of cholesterol, 440 milligrams of sodium, 0 grams carbs, 20 grams of protein, iron, and potassium per serving. Now, the can itself has a 3-year shelf life, once again based on the best buy date. I know a lot of people say canned goods last forever. They could last 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, anything like that. And as always, as I said, might say it every time, we'll see. Use your best judgment when you're going past the best by date or even getting close to the best by date. Does the can look good? Is it weird? Is it corroded? Some things that are highly acidic, like maybe tomato paste, might rot through the can. We had a can of yams that actually sort of rusted through before it even expired, and it was sort of gross. So you always want to keep an eye on the can. If it's dented in, generally it's okay. That doesn't mean anything. It means the can dropped. If it's dented out, like if it's got a big bubble, that's usually a bad thing. It means something's growing in the can, and that's never good, right? So we talk about 2,000 calorie diet. Once again, that's the daily recommended average diet. You may eat more or less, and that certainly depends on your own physiology, your own body. But to get to a 2,000 calorie diet, you would need 5.19 cans. You'd have to eat 5 of these cans a day just to hit 2,000 calories, which would cost you $19.41. So we said on the cream of wheat, it would cost you $3.13 to get to 2,000 calories, which is still 6 times what it costs to do rice. This costs you almost $20 just to get to that 2,000 calories. So it certainly has its place in your pantry. You're going to need that protein if you like meat. I tend to like meat. Flavor maybe isn't the best that's out there, but it's certainly an option. You do need protein, right? In terms of just living off the roast beef, that's pretty expensive at $19.41 to get to 2,000 calories. So this is certainly going to be maybe supplemental, right? Once again, depends on your budget. If you're heavy rice and beans and every once in a while you throw a can of roast beef in there, that might be a nice nutritious treat. Nutritious, once again, because of the protein, not the sodium. Whenever you're dealing with canned goods, there's an awful lot of sodium there, and that may or may not be a good thing depending on your health. If you have high blood pressure or any kind of cardiac issues, you're probably on a low sodium diet, and canned goods are going to blow you out of the water, right? I know I mentioned that a lot. So we'll move on here. Moving on to the next item we've got here. Adventure meals. We had bumped into this before, lasagna with meat sauce, right? So this was $11.47. Once again, like the roast beef and the cream of wheat, I remember when it was a lot less expensive, and it wasn't really that long ago. I was looking at these at $6-7 each at Walmart. Now it's almost $12 a container. So let's at least look at what's in the container for $12. It's 2 servings per container, 220 calories per serving. So this is a total 440 calories, which is what, equal to about a cheeseburger. I think you go down and get a cheeseburger, you're probably in that 440 range, but it's $11.47. So it would take 7 servings to get past 1,500 calories. And once again, we use 1,500 calorie a day when you're planning the pantry to keep you above the starvation level. Depending on yourself, your physical activity, that may not be enough, right? But if you're just sitting in the bunker waiting for the apocalypse to end, maybe 1,500 calories is better than nothing. But in order to get to 1,500 calories with this, you would need 3.5 of these packets at $40.14. $40 a day to live on adventure meals, lasagna with meat sauce at 1,500 calories. So you're just struggling by. So all of a sudden the cream of wheat at $3 doesn't sound so bad, and even the canned meat at $20 doesn't sound so bad. So if you're going with this, so you get 42 grams of fat, 175 milligrams of cholesterol, 3,710 milligrams of salt, so way more salt, too much salt. I don't know why there's so much salt in it. 210 grams of carbs, 77 grams of protein, calcium, iron, and potassium. Now, one thing you do get with the freeze-dried foods, best by date is 2053, which is a 30-year shelf life. And 30-year shelf life is a long time, right? You think of how old you are now, how old are you going to be in 30 years? That's a long time. So it's sort of a forever food in that sense, and it's likely it may go beyond. It may still be good beyond the best by date, right? And that's the advantage of freeze dried. That's why you're paying $40 a day, calorie wise, $40 for 1,500 calories, because it is a very long-term storage item. Incidentally, so are things like rice and beans if they're stored properly at a fraction of the price. But a lot of people like the freeze-dried. A lot of people like to sell the freeze-dried, I'll tell you that. Certainly a lot of people selling it. Once again, it has its place, right? I'm not something I go heavy on just because of the extreme price. And this also contains milk and wheat. So once again, if you're gluten intolerant, lactose intolerant, anything like that, if you're planning on maintaining a keto diet in the apocalypse or a carnivore diet in the apocalypse, probably not this one. I'm sure there are freeze-dried options for that. So we'll put this one away. I want to grab one last item here to share with you guys. So we're going right here, going shopping over here to the Jiffy all-purpose baking mix. I think it's the last item we're going to look at here. We picked this up a couple weeks ago. Very similar to Bisquick and a couple other baking mixes. In my opinion, they all have very distinct, kind of unique flavors, right? If you don't like Bisquick, try the Jiffy. If you like Bisquick, great, go with it. A lot of the restaurants, when you eat their biscuits, if you know Bisquick, you can tell right away, like, hey, this is just Bisquick. I'm pretty neutral when it comes to food. I like to have food. So this is a Jiffy all-purpose baking mix. You get 33 servings per container, 140 calories per serving, so that gives you a total of 4,600 calories in the container. So this is $3.78 for the box, so it's actually the cheapest of all the ones we've seen so far. Still more expensive than the raw ingredients, I'm certainly going to say that. So a 1,500 calorie diet, if you're planning that as a day, would cost you $1.22. A 2,000 calorie diet, if you're planning that as a day, that would cost you $1.63 per day. And once again, when you're looking at your long-term food storage pantry, it's good to know how many days of food you actually have, and certainly how many people you're expecting to feed. If you have a family of 4, well, you should be looking at maybe 8,000 calories a day And do you actually have that? Like, you might want to go to your pantry, and it can be a little bit of a pain, but you multiply calories per serving by servings, and that's how many calories are in the container, and that's how many days of food. You might have more or less than you thought you did, and it's good to know now, right, before you're depending on it. You don't want to say, oh, I got a year's worth of food, and you do the math, and you've got, a month's worth of food or something like that. And hopefully no one ever needs a year's worth of food or a month's worth of food, right? We all want to continue on in a society where you just go to the grocery store if you need something, but it is good to be prepared just in case that doesn't continue for the rest of our lives. And there's a lot of reasons that could be the case. So we jumped in at $1.63 for 2,000 calories. Once again, still more expensive than flour. But there is a convenience factor. One, not everyone knows how to bake bread. If you don't know how to bake bread, you might want to learn. It's certainly a good time to learn. You can do some pretty basic stuff with bread. If you don't have time, and that's not something you're interested in, something like this will get you there. A lot of great recipes on the back: apple crisp, sugar cookies, shortcakes, pancakes, banana nut bread, dumplings. There's a ton of stuff you can do with this. Cinnamon rolls, waffles, rolled or drop biscuits, a lot of options here. So going back into the math, each serving gets you 4.5 grams of fat, 340 milligrams of sodium, 22 grams of carbohydrates, 2 grams of protein, total of 66 grams of protein in the box. Calcium, iron, potassium, it contains wheat and milk. Now this is a 1 year. Once again, this is a 1 year shelf life on the box. It does contain flour, vegetable shortening. So it's really the baking soda. It's flour, vegetable shortening, baking soda, that kind of stuff. It's really the baking soda, I think, is the first thing you've got to worry about in terms of a longer term shelf life. We found things like baking soda tends to lose its potency probably faster than the rest of what's in the mix. If you open it up and it seems safe to eat, always use your best judgment. But the bread's not leavening, right? It's not rising. You're trying to make something that's not rising. That's where you can come in and possibly add more baking soda or baking powder, if you have it, the baking soda, to try to bring back its leavening properties so the stuff you're making is not completely flat. And that's something we've done in the past. But once again, always use your best judgment if you're going beyond the stated shelf life. So I hope that helps out. As I said, we want to jump back, look at a few different items, just catch you up. If you're new to the channel, please check out our other Prepper Pantry Pick of the Week videos. We try to find an item every week and just break down what you're getting and what it costs, and maybe it's a good idea. Maybe it gives you an idea of something you want to add to your pantry. So thank you for watching, and we appreciate you.